Nanindigan ng Malacanang na hindi isusuko ang Baho de Masinloc at Ayungin Shoal.
Filipino fishermen were harassed by the Chinese Coast Guard.
Kinakailangan natin ng kakampi.
We've chosen to take it to the arbitral tribunal.
China is out of step.
Hinikayat ng Amerika ang China na panatilihin ang status quo.
Three traditional fishing grounds in the South China Sea. We have Scarborough Shoal, Macclesfield Bank, and the Spratlys. And China have all taken over of that.
The Chinese regime's reported deployment of a high-tech marine patrol ship to a disputed area in the South China Sea may hamper ongoing talks for a diplomatic settlement. This dispute is well into its second week. It started on April 8th after the Philippine Navy sent a warship to intercept 8 Chinese fishing vessels in disputed waters. Tensions escalated from there. Chinese state media reported on April 19th that the Chinese military had sent its most advanced fishery patrol ship to the area.
The Chinese Navy, this is the Chinese Navy, please go away quickly.
The agreement was to defuse the tension. The agreement was not to escalate the situation in this Scarborough Shoal. But with the arrival of this new ship, we see this action as an aggravation to the situation in the Scarborough Shoal.
Di sapat ang mapa para maunawaan ang lapad at lawak ng usapin ng Spratlys at mga teritoryo pinag-aagawan ng mga bansa. Pero sa ganitong punto de vista, mas makikita mo talaga kung gaano kalaki ang teritoryong inaagaw at kung bakit dapat natin itong ipaglaban.
A disputed island and now also a militarized one. Satellite images appear to show 8 surface-to-air missile launchers being installed on Woody Island by the Chinese military.
The limited and necessary self-defense facilities that China has built on the islands and reefs stationed by Chinese personnel is consistent to self-preservation and self-protection that China is entitled to under international law.
China is threatening us not to file. They've said behind the scenes, don't do it or else. Navy Vice Admiral Jesus Bilan says the president's visit brings him closer to the Navy manning warships in Ulugan Bay and Ayungin Shoal. He says the situation is volatile, adding the menace of various threats to national security and territorial integrity are real and present.
One of the world's most ambitious construction projects is going on in secret. The Chinese are building islands on reefs in the South China Sea. They say the area is theirs, dismissing claims by Vietnam, Taiwan, and the Philippines.
Well, I mean, China has grown the islands to 2,000 acres in the last 18 months. That's a lot of space that they've grown. They're throwing sand up into these atolls and then building military airstrips on top of those. They claim that it's not military, but U.S. Satellite information has shown 2 artillery pieces. China's military is way too large for any of the other countries in the region. It has to be a U.S., Japan, Australian combination that would go up and stop China from doing this.
So from China's perspective, this is a great opportunity to show how far China has come, but also to show how powerful it is, and as a warning to anyone who might kind of threaten its, what it would say its core interests are.
Nagsimula na ang 10-day naval exercises ng China sa South China Sea o West Philippine Sea. Ito ay sa kabila ng nagpapatuloy na issue sa agawan ng teritoryo sa West Philippine Sea.
Mga maliliit natin mga isda laban sa malalaking barko ng China. Filipino fishermen were harassed by the Chinese Coast Guard.
Halos lahat lang ng bahuran dito sa Pilipinas, gusto na lang kunin. Ayun nga, kapitbahay mo, magagalit ka na. Kukunan ka ng isang bagay sa loob ng bakuran mo na hindi nagpapaalam sa'yo.
Laging may nakaambang banta ng pandarahas ang mga Chinese sa teritoryong ito.
Pintukan na kami ng mga baril. Salubungin ka ng barko, tapos tatapoy ka ng gano'n. Talagang tinatakot kami. Ano sila ng water cannon. Kailang gamitin yung pwersa nila dahil alam na malakas sila.
Pwede nga lang talagang nagalit. Hindi nga nagalit ang abutin kasi hindi talaga wala tayong magawa sa kanila eh.
Ang problema dyan sa 9-dash line na yan, ang layo niya mula
doon sa Hainan. Ito ang malaking isla ng China sa south. Nag-i-extend siya ng more than 800 nautical miles. Di lagpas na kagad siya doon sa 200. Ang problema pa dyan, nag-e-encroach siya doon sa lehitimong karapatan natin na sinabi ng UNCLOS ay atin. In fact, mga 80% ng ating exclusive economic zone at ng Vietnam at ng Malaysia ay nasasakop nitong 9-dash line.
The whole point is that you claim resources of the sea based on the land. You don't just say all this sea belongs to us without measuring the distance. So that's the important thing, the difference between UNCLOS and China's U-shaped line claim, is that China's U-shaped line claim is not based on the distance from the land, it's based on the idea that this is historically China's without providing any kind of legal basis for that.
Using maps and historical records, Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio discussed in detail evidence that bolsters the Philippines' territorial claim in the South China Sea against China. The case is filed before the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. Carpio produced a 1734 map that shows the Kalayaan Island Group is part of Philippine territory. Although Carpio is convinced the Philippines will win its case before the arbitration panel, he believes China will never recognize the ruling.
Sa kasalukuyan, lalong tumitindi ang usapin ukol sa pag-angkin sa nasasakop nitong teritoryo dahil sa mga aktibidad ng bansang China. Kaya naman, isa po sa naging pakay natin sa ASEAN Summit ay ang publikong mayahayag ang ating salubin ukol sa nasabing issue.
With respect to security in the Asia Pacific, we agreed to new channels of communication to reduce the risks of miscalculations between our militaries. We did have candid discussions on the East and South China Seas, and I reiterated the right of all countries to freedom of navigation and overflight and to unimpeded commerce. I conveyed to President Xi our significant concerns over land reclamation, construction, and the militarization of disputed areas, which makes it harder for countries in the region to resolve disagreements peacefully.
China has rejected a ruling by the Hague Tribunal on jurisdiction and admissibility of the South China Sea arbitration. A statement by the Foreign Ministry declares the ruling null and void and says it has no binding effect on China. The court ruled Thursday it has jurisdiction to hear some territorial claims filed by the Philippines against China over disputed areas in the South China Sea. The Foreign Ministry statement says China has indisputable sovereignty over the South China Sea, islands, and the adjacent waters. It says the sovereignty and relevant rights are protected under international law, including the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. The statement says the Philippines' push for arbitration is a political provocation under the cloak of law.
This photo published in The Diplomat this week shows a runway being built by China on Subi Reef, located in the contested waters of the West Philippine Sea. Subi Reef is just around 12 nautical miles away from Pag-asa Island, the biggest of the Spratly Islands claimed by both the Philippines and China.